I used to think that sacrifice was something that you did occasionally, right? Something that was reserved for major decisions, big goals, important moments. But the older that I get, the more that I realize something. Sacrifice isn't an occasional part of life, it's a daily part of life. In fact, every meaningful life requires sacrifice. The question isn't if whether you'll sacrifice, right? The question is what you'll sacrifice for, because you're going to sacrifice regardless. So here's a misunderstanding, right? I think a lot of people view sacrifice as purely negative, a loss, giving something up, missing out, right? And in some ways, that's true. Sacrifice does involve letting go of something. But what I've started realizing is that sacrifice is also how we acquire things that actually matter to us. The sacrifice, right? You sacrifice comfort to build discipline. You sacrifice time to build relationships. You sacrifice convenience to build your health. You sacrifice immediate gratification to build a better future worth having. Almost everything valuable sits on the other side of sacrifice. So one of the biggest realizations I've had is that everyone sacrifices, not just ambitious people, not just successful people, everyone. The person building a better business sacrifices, right? The person raising a family is going to sacrifice. The person pursuing faith is going to sacrifice. The person developing skill sacrifices all the time. The person avoiding responsibility also sacrifices. The difference is that some sacrifices create a future that we're proud of, others create regrets. That's why the real question isn't whether sacrifice is required, it's whether we're making intentional sacrifices. So it's the cost to growth, right? I've never experienced meaningful growth that didn't require some form of sacrifice. Growth costs something. Learning is going to cost you something. Discipline always costs something. Maturity, being a better character, is going to cost you something. So transformation, in effect, is also going to cost you something. The person that you want to become is going to require you to leave some things behind. Old habits, old excuses, old mindsets, old comforts, because growth and comfort rarely occupy the same space for very long. So this has become especially clear for me when I think about family. Being present with my family requires sacrifice. Listening instead of speaking requires sacrifice. Leading requires sacrifice. Providing in general is going to require sacrifice. Showing up consistently requires sacrifice, because every hour invested in family is an hour that can't be spent somewhere else, because that's what makes it valuable. The things that matter most often require the most from us, and that's okay, because some investments are worth making. So I've learned this lesson through health as well, not accidentally, right? But nobody accidentally becomes healthy. Nobody accidentally becomes strong. It requires choices and discipline, consistency day after day. It means sacrificing certain comforts today for benefits that you're going to experience later that you're not even going to see today. And that's difficult in the world that constantly encourages immediate gratification. But the future often belongs to the people who are willing to delay gratification for something greater in their lives. Spiritually, sacrifices takes on an even deeper meaning. Faith is going to require sacrifice. Trust is going to require sacrifice. Obedience always requires sacrifice, but it's better than sacrifice. There are times when doing what you believe is right may cost you convenience, even freedom, right? It may cost you comfort. It may even cost you opportunities. But I've come to believe that some things are too valuable to compromise, because eventually we all serve something. The question is whether we're serving what truly matters. So here's the lie, right? There's a lie about having all of it, the lie about having everything. I think one of the most dangerous ideas in modern culture is the belief that you can have everything without giving anything up, that somehow we can pursue every opportunity, right? People want something in exchange for nothing. They want to maintain every comfort and avoid every cost and still build an extraordinary life. But reality, it doesn't work that way, man. Every meaningful pursuit is going to require focus. It requires sacrifice. To say yes to one thing often means saying no to a completely other thing. That's not failure, that's wisdom. So I'm going to tell you about the hidden sacrifices, right? What's interesting is that some of the most important sacrifices are invisible. Nobody sees the distractions you avoid. Nobody sees the temptations that you resist. Nobody sees the disciplines that you maintain. Nobody sees the opportunities that you decline. But those unseen sacrifices are often shaping your future more than the visible ones. Character is built in those moments. Integrity is built in those moments. And purpose is protected in those moments. I've started realizing that sacrifice is rarely about choosing your future, right? Every sacrifice is an exchange. You're giving up something now for something later. The question becomes, what future are you purchasing with today's decisions? Because every choice is moving you towards something, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And over time, those choices compound. So I'm going to tell you what I believe now. Today, I believe that sacrifice is one of the clearest indicators of what we truly value. I believe that meaningful things require meaningful investment. I believe that comfort is a terrible long-term strategy. And I believe that the life that we want is often hidden behind the sacrifices that we were unwilling to make. Not because sacrifice itself is the goal, but because the things worth building usually cost something. The older I get, the less I view sacrifice as losing something, and the more I view it as choosing something. Choosing purpose over distraction, choosing growth over comfort, choosing discipline over convenience, choosing the future over the moment. Because every meaningful life requires sacrifice, not occasionally, consistently. And in the end, I don't think we'll regret the sacrifices we made for the things that truly mattered. We'll regret the things that mattered that we weren't willing to sacrifice for. So if you're willing to sacrifice today's comfort for tomorrow's purpose, comment the word purpose, because every meaningful life requires sacrifice, and what you sacrifice reveals what you value most. I appreciate you for being here. Peace.